Again, I dare you. I double dare you, mother.
Get busy living. You get busy dying.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
You're gonna need a bigger boat. And here we go.
Okay, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Cult Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Maloof. With me, as always, my co-host, Dante Troina. And we are breaking down episodes 5 and 6 today of Daredevil Born Again. We had a 2-episode drop last night, so let's get into it. Dante, first thoughts? What do you think here?
First thoughts are all over the place. I mean, I think I told you before I liked a lot of what was being put on screen, but I also felt disheartened with a lot of what was being put on screen. So a lot of mixed thoughts that I think we're going to dive deeper into as we get through the nitty-gritty of the episodes. But happy to have 2 more episodes of Daredevil, I guess.
Yeah, we got 2 new episodes to talk about. I mean, it's keeping me at least engaged week to week at this point. I don't know where I stand on this show at this point. It's kind of up and down for me. Just is not doing what I need a Daredevil show to do for me as a whole, but I'm not entirely offended by what I'm seeing at the same time either. It's kind of a mixed bag for me, some highs and some lows. But let's just start off with episode 5 here. It's a bottle episode, essentially, is what we get here. It's very much removed from pretty much the overarching narrative of the rest of the series so far. It's Matt going into a bank to try to get a loan for Nelson and Murdoch, and the bank gets robbed, and Matt has to kind of be Daredevil without being Daredevil and try to help these hostages and try to, stop the situation, basically. What did you think? Did you think we were going to get a bottle episode here, Dante, about, almost halfway through the season at this point, or what do you think here?
I had heard about a potential bottle episode. I just don't know, man. I'm so conflicted about my feelings about this are all over the place because I think I liked most of the episode, or at least enjoyed it for what it was. I didn't enjoy it at the time of watching it as much as I enjoy it kind of thinking about it now. Because the placement is just awful. Like we had such a great episode 3 and then such a really good end to episode 4 that felt like it was setting up the rest of the season, and then we just get just dead momentum right off of that, and it felt so misplaced amongst the show in tone and in where it was placed in the arc of Matt.
Yeah, it did feel like it killed some momentum, because going off of episode 4, it kind of felt like we were actually moving somewhere with the overall plot of the series, and then this bank episode kind of gets dropped in our laps. And I think that's why they probably released these episodes together, or at least one of the reasons they released these episodes together, right, is to let you know, like, okay, we're going to do this little, like, shoot off, offshoot here, but then we're going to get right back on track in episode 6, which basically was a continuation. We should have watched that before, I guess, if you really wanted to just follow the narrative of the series.
Yeah, I think going back through the season, like, I will skip episode 5, and maybe I'll watch episode 5 as a fun thing on its own, but I'm excited to watch episode 4 into episode 6 in the future, because maybe it does just play better in that sense in the full season. Depending on where they go from here, I think it really puts a lot of pressure on the last 3 episodes too, because you got to wrap some things up in the next 3 episodes or set some things up for season 2 in the next episodes. And really, we're just kind of getting direction for where the show wants to go and what it wants to be. And this is where you really feel the reshoots coming in and the
Definitely.
rekindling of the season.
Yeah, I mean, this totally feels like it's almost just a leftover from the previous iteration, or one of the previous iterations of this show. And that show, I think, was very much supposed to be a day in the life of Matt Murdock. He's not really Daredevil. It's a legal procedural about, starring Matt Murdock. And I think this probably would have been one of the episodes in that series where we actually get to see him doing a little bit of daredeviling, on the side without actually, letting the devil out fully and putting on the mask. But yeah, I think it is really interesting to think about where we're going to go from here. And season 2, I don't know. Well, I don't know if we're going to get like really any resolution at this point at the end of season 1, because as we know, these were supposed to be one season, right? This was supposed to be one 18-episode season, which has been significantly retooled to be 2 9-episode seasons. So I'm just kind of wondering what we're actually going to get here at the end of this season, if it's going to relieve any of the narrative tension, or if it's going to wrap anything up, or if it's really just going to play as the first half of one full season.
I think it's definitely the first half of the season. I think they wanted to get something out, and I don't know why, because we waited, 7 years
We
anyways.
waited
So
so long at this point.
I don't know why we need to get something out so bad. And I think it speaks to, well, we can get into Marvel as a whole at some point, but just they're just so disconnected, and them and Disney both at this moment right now, that it hurts characters that we love. And like there are moments in these episodes that I still love. And again, like Charlie Cox as Daredevil, I can wait years to see him. Obviously, we're here and we're watching the show 7 years later. So what's to say we wouldn't be watching it 8 years later if they really figured it out and figured out the episode structure? And it's starting to feel more like a disservice that they put out half of the old show instead of just entirely reshooting it. Where I think they were doing an okay job with the stitch work, and then these two episodes came along, and it did feel, I hate to just be down on this show right now, because I'm not down on the show entirely, but these are the gripes that I have with it right now, is that it does feel like something that's just a stitched vision
Right, it
more
just
so
doesn't
than
feel
ever.
whole. Right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like it's one cohesive project. It feels like three different versions of a project battling against each other. And it doesn't make for interesting storytelling in moments.
No, and it makes us as the audience disconnected from it too. Like I can't help but think now about what is different in the show.
Like
Like
what
there's
would have been
no,
different.
yeah, there's no way that I can't think about it now. It's just distracting all the screen time at this point, where if it's not stitched together well and it's not keeping me entirely interested, that's all I'm thinking about is like what are we doing here, and what is the direction here? And so that really, it can only hurt it. And I think they've so publicly stated that it's been reshot and refixed, and this is the sixth episode now, so everything from here is the new show. So I think I'm grading the last three episodes on a curve now, knowing that it's the real new entire show, 7, 8, and 9. Apparently, right? Like, or
We'll
at what
see.
point does it just keep becoming an excuse for them? So the 7, 8, and 9, as much as I love this character, it needs to hit. It does need to hit.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I think we're going in a more interesting direction than we started off with before these two episodes, at least. So that's something positive. But I guess let's talk a little bit about episode 4 here. We already mentioned it's basically a bottle episode. Takes place in a bank. Matt Murdock, he's basically just trying to stop these bank robbers or stall them and or thwart them in any way he can, while being inside the bank, while being Matt Murdock in person. And we get him teaming up with Miss Marvel's dad, the banker Yusuf Khan. We have
The
previously seen him.
long-awaited
The long
collaboration.
away. The team up everyone was waiting for here.
Yes.
Jesus. I mean, I didn't hate it. He's like a fun character, I guess, but
Sure.
it just
Sure.
feels so forced and just strange. It's like, remember, this is in the real MCU now. You've seen this guy. He was in Miss Marvel. He was in the Miss Marvel show, and he was also in the what was the Marvels.
Marvels.
He was in the Marvels for a bit there. Her whole family was. So
So
we've
funny.
seen him.
So funny that Daredevil does not know who Miss Marvel is. Like,
Well, I mean,
he's like the rest of us. He's not caught up on the MCU right now. And he's, oh yeah, okay, yeah, you got a hero. Good. Oh, and she's your daughter. Okay, you said that pretty straight up. Like,
I think
okay.
that makes sense because if his reaction would have been, "Oh, Miss Marvel, of course, the famous, everyone knows her," I would have been like, "Oh, I mean, come on, do we really know who she is?" I mean, I've seen the show and I've watched the movie, and I don't think she's a bad character at all. I
Not
just
at
think
all.
she's kind of
No.
underserved by the material that she's been given. I really actually was in on like the first four. How many episodes was Miss Marvel again? I was in on like 2/3 of it. Like up until like the last two episodes, I thought completely kind of ruined that show. But I didn't think it was bad. She's fun enough, but why are we getting Miss Marvel references in the Daredevil show? I was actually going to praise this show for not giving us anything like that. You know, for trying to remain in that MC or in that Netflix vein where we're not really referencing the stuff outside of us, you know. And I just still feel like that in a way. I mean, we don't really get the term superhero thrown around very much. I think besides the one reference to Miss Marvel, besides that, it's all about vigilantes, and I think there is a distinction to be made there.
Yeah, I just didn't need that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
in the episode as a bottle. I don't know. I don't have like a huge take on it. I just didn't need it. So we get the momentous episode 4 going into episode 5 where it just feels like okay, we're damn near back now. Let me
Hmm.
out. And then Muse taking the people in the subway like, okay, we have real direction here now. And we just get stagnated and thrown like weird fan servicey type stuff in our face that we didn't service the fans by giving us a show that we haven't had for 7 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Service the fans by showing us fucking Daredevil. That's what we want to see. So I loved I don't want to break down this episode. Most of the episodes we've broken down like each scene and kind of
Yeah, I don't
gone
think we
through the
need to
episode as a
to
whole.
do that
We
here.
don't we could just give our overall thoughts on this one. I think this one I love Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Like he carries this episode on his back. Whenever he's on screen in this episode, it's great. The rest feels like a CSI episode or something.
Yeah.
It's not TV that I would watch. And it's like when a writer's doing an ongoing Daredevil book and then the artist is penciling the next issues, so they do a monthly filler issue with a different artist. And that monthly filler issue is something like this, like Daredevil goes to the bank with a different artist. So you can read it if you want to with a different artist, or you can just read the full story next month when we really get back to it. So in the spirit of comics, I really like it. In the spirit of Disney Plus specials, in my mind, this is already a Disney Plus special that's just separated from the Daredevil show. That's a St. Patty's Day special with a couple weird Irish lads robbing a
That's what I
bank.
was thinking. This totally felt like something that you would drop on St. Patrick's Day, and maybe that was the original plan, in the first iteration of this series. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it's leading us anywhere, It doesn't feel like we're building on anything here. It's besides maybe the fact that there's a little tension of Matt realizing that maybe he does need to be Daredevil again, because things are happening in the city and he needs to stop it, I guess. But he handled it fine in this episode without becoming full Daredevil again. So I don't know, just kind of strange overall.
Yeah, just a strange placement. I really like putting our superheroes in situations like this, like Matt Murdock's. This is if you were gonna get one full episode from the original show, I'm glad we got this one, but I'm also so glad we did not get the original show. If we see how this is very much, I don't think any of this was reshot. So if this was exactly how the original show was, I wasn't gonna be thrilled with it. So I'm cool with the one episode. I think like him choking the guy out and grabbing the gun and using his senses the whole time
Yeah, there's some
and
cool
just all
Daredevil-y moments
picking
for
a
sure.
lock, like awesome,
Well,
and
that
the
was nice. As soon as they started talking about getting into the vault, I'm like, Daredevil's gonna crack this vault
hell
for
yeah.
sure, because of course he is.
And the I'm a damn good lawyer line, like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
cool,
yeah.
like whatever, but I think it's funny because they're so like Daredevil's for Daredevil fans. Like it's not Spider-Man, it's not really a superhero that is for everyone, like most of the Banner Marvel heroes have been. And I feel like those lines, like the damn good lawyer lines, that's when they're trying to make it for everyone.
Right.
And
Remember
that's
this?
yeah, and Daredevil fans, I don't think that's not what I want, and I've read literally every single Daredevil book from 1982 to now in backtracking through my Daredevil catalog, and that's not something that like sticks out to me as oh they're doing the thing again. It's not
Right.
exciting for me as a fan. So I feel like they tried to make it one size fits all, and I'm glad we went back into what Daredevil should be at least a bit in episode 6, which is for the fans entirely.
Yeah, I think we just cap the conversation on episode 5 here, unless you have anything else, because it doesn't feel like there's much to talk about. It's Daredevil goes to the bank, and I did think it was funny at the end how Yusuf still wouldn't reconsider Matt's loan after that. He's like, I
Right.
hope this isn't about trying to reconsider a loan. I'm like, really? Really? After all that, you can't give my guy a loan. I mean, he just
Yeah, what a
saved your
son of a
ass,
bitch.
saved everybody, but nope, no, can't do that. So, I guess the other thing I did want to say is, I guess the only reason that it the banker in this episode is someone we know or is someone related to a different hero is so that he can see Matt using his powers and kind of be okay with it, I guess. Like it's okay if this guy knows that Matt's Daredevil essentially because his daughter is a superhero, so of course he'll keep the secret or something like that. You know what I mean?
I guess so. Yeah,
That's kind of
I
just what
guess
it
that,
felt like to
and
me.
it
But
maybe gives it a bit more stakes because we already know him a bit. I guess.
yeah,
Like maybe they feel like we have a great connection to him, which is not taking anything away from Yusuf Khan. Like I like the actor, he's pretty charming.
he's
I'm cool with
funny.
the character, but I just don't like
It's just like why?
I don't have huge ties to him either. So a couple of things I want to touch on really quickly. Matt brings up Sister Maggie, his mother. He
Right?
didn't know
Yep.
his mother till much later in life.
Yeah.
Where is she? Because I think she was one of the best parts about an absolutely loaded season 3 of
Right.
Daredevil. It, to me is my favorite season. She was one of the best parts of that season. So let's get some more of her. Let's figure out where she's at or what's going on with her, or have at least a little bit of exposition on her because I love that character. The vault was number 407. I immediately did my little research for 407, what that could mean in Daredevil comics. Um, Not much. It's actually Daredevil Volume 2, number 27 is the Legacy issue 407. That's the introduction of Sammy Silk, who is an underboss who Julius Caesar's the Kingpin at that time and betrays
Okay.
him. And so maybe like a Sammy Silk hint at that point in the show. That was just me grasping at straws. Marvel,
Yeah.
they're trying to find reason for everything. And I like the way Matt beat the dude's ass at the end of the episode, stomping on his leg, completely
Yeah.
cracking it, and just stepping on his face. Like, okay, that's they like to be brutal in this series. They like to flex that they're an R-rated Disney series, so why not flex it in that moment? Just beating the shit out of the Irishman.
Yeah, we get a couple F bombs in this episode, one or two, and we've had maybe like three or four in this series so far. So I guess we're getting rowdy at Disney Plus here. You know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
They're sneaking food at midnight. They're a naughty kid. Like they're out past their curfew. Good for Disney.
all right, moving on to episode 6 here. This is actually continuing the narrative of the series, right? It picks up basically where episode 4 leaves off. Yeah, a lot better, I think, as far as like continuing the narrative here, but I still had some mixed thoughts overall. But yeah, what did you think?
This is exactly what I was talking about in the first couple episodes where we need 10 more minutes, where we need just a fuller episode of TV. And they gave episode 4 was so great at that, and episode 3 was so great at that, at giving us two full, complete, thought out episodes of TV. And I think this episode, if you add 5 or 10 minutes to just flesh out a little bit more of the scenes, I would be so much more fulfilled with the episode. It has some stuff like we'll get to like the CGI and stuff, which is it is what it is. You just got to accept it for what it is at this point. I wish it was better, but it is what it is. So I like some of the moments, but I think this is an episode that really falls victim to being 40 minutes, and I don't get Disney Plus is not beholden to making shorter episodes. I don't get why they do it. Like they could make an hour and a half if they want, and that could be it, right? Or they
Right,
can make it 20 minutes if they want. But I just think they need to find some sort of consistency in making this is where Netflix, I think, really stood out is that every episode was a full episode and every episode was 50 minutes
exactly.
and every episode was just thought out better from a show running TV perspective. Um, I would have loved 10 more minutes in this episode because I think it really would have helped it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It just felt a little hacked together again for me. Like we get basically the opening is Matt praying and he's holding Foggy's card in his hand, right? He's still thinking about Foggy, and then that's a fun little scene. I like that. It just shows us that Matt's still thinking about Foggy, right? That's still on his
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
And then I guess our real that transitions into these two intercut scenes. One of Matt talking to what's his girlfriend's name again?
Heather.
Heather, right?
Dude,
He's
I
ta-
think it came out firing with this scene. I think it came out really well with him talking to Heather about her book and vigilantes and Fisk being greeted in his office by one of the Red Hook mob bosses and just intercutting and weaving these stories together. I think the editing was actually okay in those scenes where they edited it well enough where I wasn't jarred when it cut back and forth between the scenes. I thought it came out like pretty good out of the gate with those two scenes.
See, to me, that just felt like two individual scenes that they just repurposed and spliced together to make some sort of opening scene out of. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like a natural opening to me, and I don't know. I don't think I liked it as much as you did, but again, it's not like blatantly offensive. It's just like I don't know. I'm just bumping on this a little bit. This is just not quite doing what I wanted to do here.
This is where more time is needed. Like this is where they could improve the editing and make it like almost slower paced in this scene because it felt like it was like two conversations that were slow paced conversations that were operating at a fast pace, and I didn't like that, or edited at a fast pace. Um, or it could have been, like you said, two separate scenes. And I think I like both of the scenes and the conversations.
Yeah,
But maybe how it was stitched together, I'm like, I was okay with it. I'm not, it's their editing hasn't been too hot in this episode, especially, which we'll talk more about, but this was not their worst editing in this episode.
it's not the worst, I guess. Yeah, you're right about that. It just yeah, it just did not feel great to me. It felt like they were trying to make this a super tense scene with the music behind it and the way it was presented. They really wanted to build some tension here, and I just wasn't buying it. Like we're supposed to be really tense about the fact that Heather is wanting to interview the Punisher or asking Matt about being a vigilante, and then she's like, "Oh, my Uber's here. I gotta go." So a little plug for Uber,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it was
then
a weird,
she just
it was a weird
leaves.
release out of the scene.
It just
It
didn't
was a really
feel.
weird ending to the scene.
It didn't feel tense to me at all. And the same thing with the other scene cut into here with Kingpin and the mob guy. It just didn't feel like much of anything.
I liked Fisk slipping back into his old ways a bit and putting the tax on the 1.8
I
and
did no, I
saying
did
like
like
add
that.
another million. And I like Matt just being completely checked out of that conversation and
Yeah,
having to be reminded by stuff with Heather. I'm like, oh, here's Heather Glenn. Here's the Heather Glenn that I know. Where she's just begging for Matt's attention in the comics. And I like both of the, I think they were trying to make it tense, yes, but I think it's an internal tension with Matt and with Fisk, and I don't think maybe they conveyed that well enough. Where I think they were trying to make it tension between Matt and Heather is how they conveyed it. But to me, it was always Matt's internal tension with what's going on, and he's just not listening to Heather at all, and thinks it's ridiculous about the mask, and it just isn't. It's just another stepping stone for him to slip back into the Daredevil mask.
yeah, which is ultimately what we get at the end of this episode, which was great. I mean, the ending episode, the end of this episode, I think is pretty fun. But building up to that, we get Muse's like proper introduction. We've seen him in bits and pieces here along the season, but I think he's kind of shaping up to be a real like villain in this series, which is fun. I think it's a cool, interesting character. It's something we haven't seen before. It's something that it hasn't been done, so we don't really have any preconceived notions going into it. And I think overall it's a cool idea. We get the blood murals. Finally, that kind of revealed it. That was a little silly too, I think. But when he's like, what the cop says, he mixes his blood with paint and then
And
he puts
epoxy,
epoxy
yeah.
over it, so then it makes it impervious. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro?
We can't get the painting off no matter what we try.
But I mean, I guess this is a TV show about a blind lawyer, a superhero, so that's not the craziest thing we have, I guess. But it just felt just kind of silly.
They could have just figured out it was blood,
Yeah,
right?
it's
like
like
they could have
they
just
don't
figured
have
out,
to
oh,
be.
he's using blood,
They
and
don't
then
have to
started
be
to have to
permanent.
test the, yeah, started to test the paintings. Or it could be, I don't know, to me it's like the blood mural in the comics is one painting, and they figure out that there's like 100, it's some crazy number in the comics, like 130 DNAs of missing homeless people throughout Hell's Kitchen, which I was like, I'm cool with just like he could be coloring the murals on the street or painting the murals on the street and then have the blood mural that goes up for show. And it talks like people try to monetize it, and it's the commentary on art and how like art is what you put a price on it, and
Right.
people in the art world are just fucking weird, right? Like for some reason they probably would try and put a good price tag on something with 130 DNAs on it. And like I don't know how I liked it being the murals around the city, because I just like the murals around the city as they are. I don't think those needed to be the blood murals to me.
Yeah. I also just I'm just not convinced with some of the other stuff in this episode. The blood murals, whatever, we can It is what it is, and I like I said, I think the character of Muse is actually pretty fun and
Yeah.
interesting, and he's kind of sinister too. I think he looks really creepy,
Oh yeah.
and I think he is pretty scary. He's killed over 60 people. They say they have over 60 victims of his, which is quite a bit. Not your 120 you're talking about, but still 60. I mean, when you get that scene with Cherry and Matt, which Cherry again doing some terrible acting, but he's like, "You got to stay out of this, Matt. He's killed 60 people," and you kind of just see Matt just glance over, and he's like, "Oh, 60 people. I gotta, I gotta do something about this guy."
That might have been the worst scene in the whole show to me because, dude, like, let me just rip this shit apart. Because White Tiger Jr. comes
Right.
in earlier in the episode, and she's talking about, hey, he found people, he was onto the missing people, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
he was investigating. It's going on by the subways. So Matt already has the inklings of what's going on. He doesn't need Cherry to tell him this. Like
Uh-huh.
Matt already has and I think it's an interesting dilemma. Again, I like White Tiger Jr. coming in because she like gives him an interesting moral dilemma in that case. Like, dude, there are people going missing. What can you do about it? He's like, I'm a lawyer. I can't, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
he actually cannot as a lawyer, but he obviously can as Daredevil. So it's just a good situation to put Matt in. And then Cherry comes in like, "Hey Matt, how's it going? Have a whiskey." Uh, yeah, I got off the phone with a friend. Again, he
He's
just
always
has
on the
he
phone
says
with a
so many
friend.
fucking. What does he do all day besides call his friends on the fucking phone and
He
get
just
hot
gets some
gossip?
right.
Like, fuck
Vague
me, man.
knowledge.
And I got off the phone with a friend. You know those murals? Yeah, they're made out of blood. And Matt's like, huh? Yes, 60 people, but you gotta sit this one out. And
Don't
pats him
do
on the
anything
back.
about it
Don't
though.
don't do anything, Matt. Don't be a hero. Bye. Then he just leaves. He cuts out. He cuts out, dude. Like what the fuck, Jerry? Like he was just get the fuck out of the
I
show.
mean,
I'm sorry. Just leave. Like we
that's who
don't need
Cherry
your
has
shitty
been.
exposition.
Exactly. That's all he's there for in this show. Is just give us exposition that we already know.
Imagine yeah, that we already know. Like the audience doesn't need to know it. I want Matt to piece it together too. Like Matt doesn't have to know it's blood mural. Imagine like there's an alternate version of the final scene. Let's get to it when we get to the final scene. But there's an alternate
Uh-huh.
version of the final scene that I think could be way better. And I loved the final scene, but there are versions where I'm like, could be a lot cooler and could be a lot more interesting and service both Matt and Muse in a better way, I think, than just a fight scene where I like the fight scene, but I feel like I'm rambling, but I just Cherry, man. Fucking Cherry. Like this why can't it be Brett Mahoney? Like the cop from the first Daredevil show, the black cop that Foggy
Yep.
befriends that he's giving cigars to his mom.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I love Brett Mahoney. Brett Mahoney was an all-time expositioner in the first show.
Oh,
He was
100%.
he was he was
100%.
perfect at that though. And all of
He
his
was
exposition
good.
was great. And Cherry just walks in, pats Matt on the back, says, "Hey, there's 60 people dead. The mayor's not really doing much about it apparently, and but you can't do anything. Have a whiskey, bye."
Let the
Like,
cops handle
what does
this.
Cherry think he's doing, man? Like, and then Matt gets the call from Angela's uh auntie, anyways, and so Matt
Right.
can put it together like she just said that she needs someone like you can't have somebody else take care of things for you. And she said there are missing people by the subways. Where should I go? The subways. He doesn't have to have the extra motivation to go down there besides just saving Angela and saving one person too. Instead of having ulterior motives that he's saving 60 lives or retribution for 60 lives, like be a hero, save one person. I think that's what's so cool about being like Daredevil and heroism is like you save someone that matters to you too. So you don't need the extra motivation to me. It should be about saving Angela in that moment and stumbling upon that, I think, instead of knowing what's down there already, it seemed like.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to the end of the episode, so let's just go through the rest of this episode just beat
Yeah.
by beat real
Yeah.
quick. For after that, after we get Sherry expositioning away to Matt, then we kind of go back to Fisk here, and we have one of the weirdest edited scenes I've seen in this series so far, where he's in his bedroom with Vanessa talking to her, and then we're flashing back. Are we flashing back or flashing forwards? I don't even remember.
I think forward.
Or we're
I
flashing
think.
forwards.
I
I
think.
think. I don't even know. We're cutting to Fisk at a dinner party talking to. I don't even know who these people are. They politicians? Are they like
They're just
donors? They're just
they're just
people.
like
They're
rich
socialites or
people that
something.
made their money the same way Fisk did, but not in crime. Like this, but similar. Like it's a room Fisk would be on the other side of in his other life, maybe
Right, but he
talking to
has
the
to cozy
mayor.
up to some of
And
these people because he's the mayor, and they're talking about politics. I honestly, I watched this episode last night, and I don't even really remember what they even talked about.
just like you're self-serving, and we're the real power in the city. And Swordsman Jack Duquesne says that it's a warning, and it was edited so bad.
Right, and
Like you said, like oh.
that's also the editing was weird because he was having conversation with the lady at the bar, and then we're also cutting I thought it felt like we were cutting to a different conversation of Fisk and Tony Dalton, aka Swordsman from Hawkeye. I were they in the room together? Because we never see Dalton in the frame with the other lady that Fisk is talking to. So is Fisk remembering another conversation inside of this flashback/forward?
I
Like I don't know. I'm just completely
I
baffled by
don't
this
know and I
scene.
don't care. And
Yeah,
because it was edited so badly.
it was so weird.
And it's an interesting plot in the comics when Mayor Fisk is he finds himself in rooms where it's like, oh shit, I'm not the most powerful one in the room. And I think that's really interesting. Like, hey, I think he thinks because of the way his dad wired him, especially, like mayor is the pinnacle of
Uh
what you
huh.
can be in this city. And with his attachments to Hell's Kitchen and New York, to him, like mayor is the end game, right? And in those rooms with those people, they're like, yeah, there's a lot more power at play that you just and they just bitch him kind of. And I like that almost. I like him being the smallest big guy in the room. And so they didn't execute that well. And again, 10 more minutes in this episode to buffer out some of these weird edits and just make it two scenes. Like make that moment with Vanessa its own moment. Make because they're connecting again.
Uh
So it
huh.
should be its own moment. It shouldn't be intertwined with other stuff. Make this gala that he's at, make it awkward as shit and make it like 5 whole minutes of him just being like so out of place in this room and make him feel like he shouldn't be there at all. Like take your time with that, give him more layers, show the different sides of his character because then the ending hits harder too. Like
Yeah.
when you don't take shortcuts with these scenes, it makes the payoff moments so much sweeter. So I don't get why they edit things the way they do there.
It's just really clunky storytelling right now, and that's one of the main things I've been bumping on against. Again, I've been bumping against in this entire show is just the clunky nature of how the story is being presented. It doesn't feel fluid or fun or
And I like
like
the story.
doesn't really make sense. And I do that the
I
overall
like the
story.
story.
I'm with it. Like the overall narrative that we're following here, I'm generally intrigued and I'm on board. But it's just stuff like this just kills me. It's just it
Yeah.
sucks. And it's just kind of lets the air out of the balloon a little bit.
Yeah, it hurts. It really hurts too because I want to see those scenes. I want to see him and Vanessa reconnect. It's not top of my bucket list, but I'm cool seeing that. Like we sat through Daredevil, the first show does not have that much action in it either. Like the action hits hard, but it's because the scenes before it and scenes after it, the exposition, the dialogue, whatever it is, it's because it's so well paced out and edited that makes the action so good. Like, so it's 39 episodes and there's not as many action scenes as you remember when you go back and rewatch it. And so I'm okay seeing the scenes with him and Vanessa. I'm okay seeing the scene with him talking to these people and being the odd duckling in the room somehow as the mayor. Like, I want to see that stuff.
Yeah.
I like these characters. I want to see new layers to them. Like, actually give them to me. Don't shortcut through them so you can get to the emotional payoff because the emotional payoff needs something to pay off.
Yeah, no, like you said, I think the power dynamic would be is really fun to play with a Fisk realizing that I'm not the most powerful guy in the room even though I'm the mayor and just kind of finding himself in a different position. Like that's interesting. Would have been nice to get some of that.
Yeah.
That would have been
Yeah,
fun.
that's and in the comic that it's in, I told you, like it is awesome, dude. It is
uh
so cool to see him, and he like resorts back to his old ways as like child Fisk. Like he's stuttering more, and he's got the twitch more, and he's on the edge of breaking, and you can see that. Like make him awkward, make him weird, make him not know how to act in these situations because he doesn't know how to act in these situations. So put him in that situation because that's where we get real character growth. I really quickly wanted to touch on Muse's painting that he does in between there that gets Fisk out of the gala and into the back of the car with Buck
Uh-huh.
and Daniel. They're looking at the painting on the iPad. Um, I love it's ripped right from the comics from Daredevil 598 when Muse gets back out of prison and the girls walk up to him like, "Hey, are you Muse?
That was
Like,
fun.
can
That
we
was
get a
funny.
selfie?" I wish they sat in that scene a little bit more because I don't like Muse just like jumping at the camera and then it cuts off. I would have liked a little bit of him interacting with them because in the comics you get him actually interacting with them and he's like, "You're so pretty. I can make you beautiful." Like, and
Yeah.
he's telling them that he can make them
Uh-huh.
his painting and make them beautiful forever. And we get to see the end result of that. I love that scene, but it is literally that's one of the most ripped from the comic scenes I've ever seen when they walk up to him, like the way it's framed, how they walk up to him, how he turns and looks at them, and the dialogue too, like, "Are you Muse?" Just so funny. So I like people approaching because it would happen in the real world where people just walk right up to someone that's notorious or nefarious because why the fuck not? Like
Yeah. I guess
we're safe.
how do they know who he is at this point? We don't really get any explanation, anything
Right.
deeper as far as that goes, but I guess you're just not supposed to think about it. You're just
I think
supposed to just go
we
with
had a
it.
little bit of we both like the BB report, but I think we had a little bit of death by BB report where it just kind of tells us, hey, Muse is around the city and Muse is all these paintings are popping up. And I would have liked, I don't know what, but I would have liked more moments with Muse before. It's funny because we said after episode 4 how much we wanted to see Muse, and then I wanted just a bit more Muse before we really got Muse too. I wanted him to be a little bit more notorious around the city and have more of an effect on the city besides the cops just investigating his report. I would have liked to see either A, more BB reports actually about Muse, or B, just a couple more moments with Muse because I think it would have made that scene even funnier when they come up and approach him. And I just love like, can we get a selfie with you? That's just fucking hilarious and something some idiot would do in the real world. Just walk right up to name any killer that's on the street, right?
Yeah.
OJ Simpson of all
Well,
people.
duh, yeah.
Like totally different situation, right? But
But
you
yeah.
know, people have done dumb shit like this and walk up to people and people are fascinated by people like Muse. So I like it.
Now I'm just picturing OJ showing up in Daredevil as like a villain of the week. Um, yeah, that was a fun scene. I wanted to talk about that too. I'm glad you mentioned it. I've also just written down here, oh shit, it's Tony Dalton. Just kind of came out of nowhere because we even in the BB report of like the opening of this
He's
episode, we get like a throwaway reference to someone named Swordsman, and then I just in my head I'm like, oh yeah, didn't Tony
oh
Dalton
yeah,
play him
that
in
guy.
Hawkeye? And then he's in this fucking episode. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck?
I
This
love
is
I saw
crazy.
this picture. It's like, hey, I'm Jack, I'm Swordsman Jack from the hit show Hawkeye, and then it's Mayor Fisk. No, I'm a Kingpin from the hit show Hawkeye.
I
Like,
saw
what
that
do you
too.
like? And it's funny they were in the same show and never interacted, and they interact a bit in the comics, and they're on the in the Hawkeye comics actually, not the Daredevil ones, but
Well, that's what
I
it
think
had me
it's funny
thinking.
they're
That's what had me thinking was when they were cutting from Fist talking to the lady to him talking to Swordsman. I was thinking, is that cutting? Is that flashing back to something that happened like in the time of Hawkeye, like in the Hawkeye show that we never saw, or I don't know. That's
yeah,
getting
that's
us
how
off track,
poorly
but
edited it was. Yeah,
it was just strange. Yeah, I've written down here weird editing because it was
weird, just
weird as fuck.
jarring,
Um,
jarring.
the
I'll go
end of
into
the
it
no, go ahead, go
re-
ahead.
really quickly. So Muse's newest painting, which I like that painting and that mural with the two selfie girls. I think that one was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Um, and then we get into the anti-vigilante task force. That's what it stems. All the bad apples, as the police commissioner says, when Fisk brings them up. He has like a little mob meeting in a basement with them, or in
where
like
he
a
gives them like
garage.
a motivational
I'm
like
like, why
sort of
can't this?
speech.
Why can't he call them into the mayor's office? Or I just think like this is another thing. Like we could have had like just another minute of this would have made it better. We get Cole North. We get first off we get our officer from the other episodes that's had his back and forth
Yeah.
with Matt, which I like him being on there. I like the progression of his character. He's one of the I think most interesting like original characters they've made in this show. We get Cole North, who is a huge player in the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run, like from the jump, from issue 1 all the way. I think it's over 50 issues. He's in it the whole time. Um, Cole North gives his little exposition about there was somebody selling drugs, and he gave him extra convincing to confess to this. Um, I guess that's Cole North in this show. Like that's not how he. I know you haven't read the comics. That's just
Yeah.
not that's not really how he is, and he's definitely a cop that's all about like he would be on the anti-vigilante task force absolutely. Like he would want to do it for a good cause or for this righteous cause of catching Daredevil and getting these bad men off the streets. Like he thinks all vigilantes are bad men, but I he's not a bad cop. Like he's just a cop with a lot to prove. And so I'm really interested where they take his character because it very much seems like they're just making him a bad cop right now, which he would be character assassination to me because he's one of the coolest new characters in Daredevil that just walks that line perfectly between being someone you always want to see more of, but like he never overstays his welcome. He's never hogging the issue. He's in like 2 or 3 pages every issue, and he's just awesome when he's in it, and just gives a cool little side storyline to how the public and how the police are perceiving Daredevil, and he ends up I don't think this is spoiling much in the show, but he ends up really respecting Daredevil after being tasked to take him down. And I really like his arc in the comics. So if they're gonna pull it off, they set themselves up really badly here to me to try and pull off that side of the story. But we'll see. He's here.
Yeah, well, this was Fisk's plan pretty much the whole time, right? This was his goal of becoming mayor, was to build
Yeah.
this extra extra legal, I guess, anti-vigilante task force. He uses these special circumstances of Muse having killed all these people. There's a serial killer on the streets, so I've got to put together this anti-vigilante task force. I'm going to basically get all the corrupt cops to join, and
I don't think
they'll
Muse
just
is
do
a
whatever I
vigilante.
say. No, he's not a vigilante. You're right.
Like, I
He's
don't know
not.
if that's
He's just a fucking serial killer.
yeah,
He's not
like
a. But that aside, I agree. That's a
they
little
could start.
flimsy.
You know how the FBI in season 3 they start as like the FBI taking care of Fisk, and you slowly get the layers revealed that they're actually working for him,
Yeah.
and he's manipulated all them. Why couldn't we have that with the task force? Like make it a task force to take down Muse, and then turn it into like I already have all these corrupt cops on it. Then and he's manipulated it in a Fisk way to be anti-vigilante task
Well,
force.
it's because
And
there's no subtlety in this show. They're not
yeah,
gonna. They
and
will never drip feed you stuff like that and let things play out over multiple episodes. It's just boom. We need the
and
task
and
force, so here we
Fisk is
go.
all about subtlety, and that's where I don't worry about his character going forward. I think a lot of the scenes that they've reshot with him that they've reshot have been really good. So I don't worry about him going forward. But that's the kind of stuff where I really hope they trust us as audience members to not to not just give us an entree and dessert and shove it in our face. I didn't like Cole North just Cole North, give your exposition now.
Well, I
And
also
then
like
Cole,
that him and the other cop are the only two that we even know. And then it's just a bunch of cuts to random guys
right.
grabbing guns who we have no fucking clue who they are.
They're like cracking their neck and I'm like, these guys do not look like cops. Like I'm not convinced. And so that was part of it too. I was like, I'm not trying to listen, I'm not trying to nitpick and poke holes, but there are nitpicks and holes to be poked here
Well,
because these
exactly.
guys did not look like cops at all. Like I think the other two look like cops and look like, they
Well,
could,
they're
I
the
don't
only two
know.
that we know anything about. The other guys
Yeah.
are just faceless, just guys that are there just to fill out the frame. Like they don't
Well,
fucking do anything.
and it's just such a terrible introduction to Cole North to be like, Fisk basically says to him like, "Tell us your story.
Yeah.
Give us your exposition now." Yeah, I'm kind of shady and I make things happen because I want people off the streets. Yeah, we're not gonna let vigilantes run our city. Like, okay, man. All right, I'm interested to see where the task force goes. I can't wait to see Punisher just fucking melt through them.
Yeah,
But
I hope I think
um,
that's why probably a lot of these guys aren't going to get any sort of characters because they're just going to get killed. They're just there to get mowed down by Punisher at some point. At least hopefully. We can hope. But
yeah,
Fisk has his gang now. He's basically becoming Kingpin again, and we get that referenced earlier when when it's that weird scene cutting between him in the bedroom and him at the dinner party when he goes to put his jacket on, his jacket's too small.
He's a
And
badass.
Here's my clothes don't fit like they used to, or whatever he
Dude,
says.
I do love
And
the way they're weaponizing like food and his
I mean, he's like
outfits now too.
physically becoming the hulking giant
Yeah,
version of Kingpin again,
I like that.
and also more metaphorically, I guess, reverting to his old ways of being the crime boss Kingpin. So
That's the kind of stuff that like give me more of that.
yeah,
I
I don't
like
mind
that
that.
stuff because
That's fun.
that walks the line greatly too between like it's definitely not subtle, but it's definitely just a detail to pick up, right? Like you get it if you get it type thing. Like I think
Yeah.
most people get why he's getting bigger, but still it's just something like trust your audience to just have fun and have like it's a smart little moment. We appreciate those. So give me more of stuff like that. Give me more baked ziti and give me more skinny suits for a big man. I like it.
Yeah, I like that stuff too. I think if that's the least subtle thing in the show, then you're on a good track. But unfortunately, that's not even close. Like that actually is somewhat subtle compared to the other
Yeah.
storytelling devices that have been used so far. But
Yes.
anyways, we move
Cherry.
on. We move on. We already talked about right Cherry and his whole scene with Matt. Then we basically we talked about the Cherry scene before, but it actually comes after Fisk getting his gang together.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and then it all culminates in Matt getting the call, like you said, from Hector's. I guess it's got to be Hector's sister, right? Because it's
I think it's Hector's wife because she lives with them. I don't
his
know the whole
wife.
family dynamic, but
Doesn't
it's the
matter.
Ayalas, right?
Right, right. He gets
They're
a
calling
call
about Angela.
saying that Angela, she's investigating the Muse killings on her own. She obviously gets herself in way too deep and kind of gets captured and doesn't come home. Matt gets the call, and I do like this scene when Matt with him dialing
Oh
911
yeah.
and then hanging up and saying "fuck it," and then going putting on his whole suit again, and then from there we get a real Daredevil scene. I think the best Daredevil scene we've gotten in this series so far. I thought it was better than the opening scene for me.
I I like the fuck it as a moment. I don't know if I like it. Like I don't know if I like it for like character moment, but I like it as a moment. Him just fuck it. Like I've done all this work to do it. Eventually the city needs me. Like
Yeah,
the cops are and I like him picking up the phone and calling 911 because he knows the cops aren't going to get this shit done. Like
no.
she will die and they will not find Muse anyways. So fuck it.
Hmm.
Let's go out and do it. I think the swing was cut incredibly short. Like, and I don't know if that was to hide CGI or not, but I think it was weird him jumping off the roof and it just cuts like mid jump off the roof. I think that was something where like there was the this is a weird little tangent, but it made me think of it. Tom Cruise talked about the end our guy. Tom Cruise talked
Okay.
about the end of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. And he said that at first it was really clunky with the edit. And what they actually did was they didn't ever even change the edit, but they changed the music and made it so it was all one looping score. So it didn't feel like the scene was ending. And the music carried the scene so much better. And we get an amazing product on screen. I think the music led me to believe there was going to be more of a swing with Matt because it's building, the music's building, and then it
Hmm.
just cuts when he jumps off the roof. And so I'm not trying to nitpick the scene. I fucking love it. I love him jumping off the roof. I just wanted to see him use the grapple more. Like I want to see him swinging across two or three roofs. He's a hero. That's what we do. I we live for that shit. I mean,
Yeah.
I do. I'm sure you do too, right? We live for that. These are our heroes. We want to see them in action, even if it is just him running with a score behind his back, jumping across roofs. That's what I live for. So I would have liked if maybe they did the music differently because of the swell up, or I just found that cut to be very jarring, and that's again me nitpicking, but it was something that just jumped to me on first watch.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even really notice that. So maybe if I go back and watch it again, I might pick up on that a little bit more. But yeah, good to mention that, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of bad editing in this show already, so it's not surprising
Yeah,
that you picked up on another little thing that just kind of
but
didn't feel right.
such a cool moment still though.
It is a
All
fun
all,
moment.
all that aside, and I just kind of sit back in my chair like he's back, baby. Like he's really back. It's the we are so back, again.
Right.
Um,
It's good to have Daredevil back, and that's what we finally get
right,
at the end of this episode. Is we get
right.
a pretty fun fight sequence. I think I like the whole buildup of Muse looking down the tunnel, and we're seeing
Oh
like the
yeah.
lights reflected in
Oh
his
yeah.
eyes, and then we see Daredevil kind of come out of the
sprinting,
darkness. Yeah,
hauling
just
ass
sprinting
at him.
right at him.
I love
Um,
that.
it's a fun fight sequence. I really like seeing this more acrobatic version of Daredevil.
Yes.
This is the kind
Yes.
of Daredevil that we've seen a little bit of in She-Hulk and in Echo, two shows that I don't have a lot of fondness for, but which both I thought used Daredevil pretty well. He was just more of a cameo character, obviously, but he's flipping around. He's a lot more acrobatic and nimble and more comic booky, and I think that really fits here, and it differentiates him a little bit from the Netflix series, makes him feel a little bit more comic booky, a little more superhero-y, and maybe like feels a little bit more like it fits within the MCU. But I really liked the fight sequence overall. I liked it a lot more than the first the sequence that opened the series in episode 1.
I think I like the opening sequence a little bit more, but I like the same things that you like about it. I was going to talk about this, and let me just get it out of the way, and then we could just gush over this scene because I really do love the scene. But I really think it would have serviced the scene better if there was no cherry scene and if Daredevil was finding his way into the tunnels and creeping down into Muse's lair per se, and
Because
being
he just
kind
kind of
of,
shows up.
yeah, and being kind of just like, what is going, and like imagine him with his senses realizing there are people on meat hooks up here and this and that. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that would have been really cool, and that's just how it is in the comics. I'm not trying to be the comic guy, but I am the comic guy, so that's what I that's what I am like accustomed to is Daredevil and Muse's lair. And there's this amazing panel of him like looking up and just being like, what the fuck? Like there's people hanging everywhere, all this stuff. And that's when he can put together that there's been people dying for these murals. Like that would be, and then he can confront Fisk that he's doing nothing about it, and it just builds and builds and builds. And I'm not trying to rewrite the script. I'm just saying like that's how I thought it would play out. And I guess I'm a victim of my own expectation. But fuck, man, when Daredevil's sprinting down that tunnel and the score's swelling up, and you see Muse, you see the red in his eyes, and then Muse just like trying to figure out what it is running at him.
Hmm.
And that whole fight scene is great. I think Matt's just absolutely brutal in it. Matt taking kicks to the face
Yeah.
and smiling.
Uh-huh.
And for the first one, he missed him. The second one, he tanks. The third one, he tanks, and he just smiles. I was like, oh my God. Like, that is Daredevil. That is
Yeah.
exactly. And that's what I like about because this is reshot. This has to be a reshot scene just from how they've portrayed Matt in this show. I think you can tell. I don't know. I'm not like a maestro on this, but I think this is the new directors. I think they understand him in that way, that he is just a crazy motherfucker when it comes to
Hmm.
this. And him screaming in the middle of the scene too, just letting out a big ah,
Uh-huh.
and like he's back. I like that he's a little bit rusty too. Like you can tell he's rusty, but he's just powering through it by being a complete psychopath. Him throwing the billy clubs and the billy clubs bouncing off the walls to hit Muse, like
Yeah.
I live for that shit. And Muse holds up his end as well. So I'm
Mhm.
interested to see with Muse going forward. I like Daredevil tries to hang him, and
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah, that was
Like I
great.
don't he just has him up like you have these people on meat hooks, I'll put you on a fucking meat hook. Like I'll hang you up. That's awesome, dude. And so
Yeah.
I loved that scene, the whole thing. I loved the score. It was another new version of like a spin
Hmm.
on the score they've been doing. The score has been great in the whole show. When I talked about the score earlier, I didn't mean to nitpick at it because I love the score and the placement's been a little weird sometimes. But yeah, like you can talk about the fight scene too. I loved that. That's what we've been wanting to see for 7 years, really.
Yeah, no, you said it. The thing that I think was really fun for me about this fight scene was that it didn't have any of like the weird CGI in it that I had problems with in the opening fight scene of the series. At least nothing that stood out as like super glaring to me. I'm sure
Yeah.
I mean obviously the flip and certain things there's probably is
Yeah.
some CGI thrown in there, but it wasn't wonky. That it wasn't wonky at all. And it felt very natural and fluid, whereas the opening fight sequence, as cool as it was, just felt super kind of wonky and way too CGI, and it just kind of took me out of it. So this one I thought was a lot better in that regard.
It was uh it was really good camera work too, actually. I
Yeah,
thought so in that
yeah.
scene. Like I thought it really it highlighted Daredevil and Muse really well. And the shot of Muse getting back up off the floor and the camera tilting with him, like that's when I'm like, oh, this is the new directors. Like this is their little touch on it. Like this is the new showrunners obviously having fun with this fight scene. Um, I don't want to glaze them or give them too much credit, but I think this was definitely something that came out of their camp. Um, and the camera work was fantastic for that scene. I think it really did highlight Daredevil's abilities and allowed it to be this muddy, like this muggy, disgusting, uh, energetic fight scene, but also be like calm with the camera and show you what's happening too. It walked that line really well. I just loved the whole Muse and Daredevil fight, and like seeing Muse fight Daredevil is so cool too because I think like they just look good together on screen. Their costumes go together well, like fighting against each other.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
little things from the
that's what I want to.
comics where it's just exciting to see too. Like it's you never thought you'd get something like this, especially when the show was canceled. So coming back and getting stuff like this is what again, I say it so much, but this is what the fans want and this is what I'm there for. Like
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I really want to talk about was the costumes. I thought this is probably the best Daredevil we've ever, like the
Yeah.
best looking version of Daredevil we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Him throughout all the Netflix series. I mean, he looks fine in those in that season in those seasons, but it just is a little too. It's not superhero-y enough for me. That suit sometimes on the Netflix series. I think they fucking nailed the suit in this scene. It's better, I think, than the previous version we got even at the beginning of this season. I really think it looks great. And then Muse too. I think his whole getup is really cool. Like the blood kind of
The gloves
coming down his
too.
face, the gloves, and I think the beanie because he is like some sort
Yeah,
of art
yeah.
street artist, hippie type or
Hipster
whatever.
artist.
Yeah.
And
So
is made out of canvas again, like the
yeah,
white part of his suit being made out of canvas. So yeah, just amazing costume design. I think put like I thought like the lighting in that scene felt almost like the Netflix show and had that like brown color to it and
it was dingy,
the
definitely.
layer, yeah, it lended itself really well to the fight scene too. It was a
Yeah.
really cool like set location for the fight scene. I think the attention to detail in the layer was cool too. You could see that there was other stuff going on in there as they're fighting as well. So I just really liked it. Like it just the whole set piece, the action sequence in and of itself as the action sequence was really cool. I like that Muse, got up and got away. I'm really curious to see where he goes next. Um, because again, they can only just add layers to this character. Um, and I'm curious to see because he's very much on the side of the vigilantes with his paintings, even if he is doing all this blood mural bullshit. Like he's very much against Kingpin, you can tell that,
Hmm.
and he's very much like he makes the White Tiger mural, So I wonder where he's gonna go as a character with his paintings, and if they're gonna use his art to keep expressing where he's at, because he is a fascinating little fucker, isn't he?
Yeah. I guess the last thing we should talk about in this episode is this whole fight sequence with Daredevil is also intricate with Kingpin going back down into his basement where he has Adam, right?
Yep.
Vanessa's old boyfriend has Adam held hostage down there, held prisoner, and he gives him a classic kind of Kingpin speech about power, and I don't really remember exactly what he says to him,
I don't think he
but
said anything about his father,
I
but
don't think so. But you
he
can't rule it
he
out
still gave
entirely.
him a speech.
He
Like
gives him a
he
speech,
might as well have.
and then he basically challenges him and throws him an axe and says
Love
like
that.
basically come at me.
Love that.
Yeah, that was fun. And then they fight. Kingpin basically giving himself an excuse to kill Adam. He beats the shit out of Adam, kills him, and Kingpin is back in the same way that Daredevil is fully back now. Kingpin is fully back too. He's got his gang of cops. He's killed Adam. Like he's full blown Kingpin again. So we got our two guys back for the last what 3 episodes of this show. So
Yeah.
let's see where it goes.
And into season two.
Yeah,
I'm just banking on give me a good time with the last three episodes and set some things up for season two. Because I don't think if they tried to wrap it up at this point for a season one, I don't think it would be good.
no,
Like I think it would be rushed. So set the status quo for season two and make a fucking awesome season two, I guess. Like that's kind of where I'm at. I just want to see some cool shit on screen. I want to see Daredevil. I want to see Kingpin. I want to see more Muse. I want to see more Punisher. Um, again, like we nitpick at the show, and then there's scenes like this where I think we both just light up watching them and light up
Yeah.
talking about them.
Well, like
And
this makes it
yeah,
worth watching the episode basically, which is not a ringing endorsement of this series,
yeah.
but it's what we're getting so far.
And it bums me out too because that's when we talk about the 7 year break and like give us another year and reshoot it and keep the scenes that you really like and or the scenes that you're adding in and make a more fleshed out show and then we have something truly great. So I think it's weird, but like with all the stitching and all everything that's gone on, I think my expectations for season 2 have gone up throughout this series, and my expectations for this show have gone down for season 1, which is kind of weird to say as you're watching season 1. But again, all I'm expecting in the last couple episodes is give me some cool action, set the status quo, uh, let Punisher melt through this anti-vigilante squad, and maybe throw a twist my way. Maybe try and surprise me. Show me that you had some subtlety maybe all along, and we were just two idiots talking on a podcast. I would love that. I would love
Yeah,
to be
I
proven
would
wrong
love I would
in
love to
this
be proven
case.
wrong at the end. Well, yeah, we will see. I'm not sure kind of what conclusion, if any, we are hurling towards at this point. That's like my
Right?
biggest
For sure.
intrigue. I don't know about gripe. That's just kind of what I'm thinking about mostly at this point in the
Yeah.
season, and kind of
Okay.
from here on to the end is just how are we gonna end? What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
What the
Yeah.
hell is you have 3 episodes left to wrap up a season arc that you kind of just started. So
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel like it's gonna be able to be done, and I'm interested to see what they do. I don't know.
I think again watching like I'm going to rewatch the season when it's all out, and I'm gonna skip 5 and go 4 into 6. And maybe I'll like it a lot better. I think I will, right? But I'm glad they dropped 2 episodes last night because I would have been
Yeah.
really disheartened if it was just episode 5. And again, I think I really liked some of the moments in episode 5. I liked the situation. It was fun, it was quirky, it was just different. But I didn't have Daredevil for 7 years. I want to sit in misery and wallow in it and Catholic guilt and be with my guy. I don't need him to be quirky with Yusuf Khan. I need him to be depressed as hell, back against the wall, Daredevil. Like that's what I want to see. And so the ending of episode 6 was just awesome to see him and him picking up White Tiger Jr., Angela, and saying, I'm back.
Yeah.
He literally
I
says it.
am
He says,
back.
I'm
Yeah.
here. He
Is
says, I'm here, right? But
that what
I'm
he
here.
says? Yeah, I'm
And
here.
and then he says again, yeah, I'm here. Like he confirms it with himself too again. And
Yeah.
I love,
Yeah.
again, I pointed out in the other episodes, I love the self-talk when he's saying it for someone else, but saying it to himself too. There's been so many great moments of that. I think it's only worked well. So I really like the second, yeah, I'm here. And I'm so like again, I'm talking about this and you see like I'm lighting up talking about it and I'm ready for what's next and I'm ready for a true Daredevil show. And that's just where I stand with it. You want to get into some quickly at the end some bold predictions for the rest of the show?
Do you have some predictions? I don't know if I have
I've
any.
I've got some predictions. I don't have expectations, but I have
Okay.
some bold predictions.
Okay.
Um
We'll wrap up here with
maybe
bold
not this
predictions.
season, but I think season 1 and 2 are going to be maybe one whole story. I think season 2 will wrap this shit up. And I think Vanessa's not going to make it through season 2. And I know that's a year out and that's again a prediction, but I think uh I don't think she's safe. I think they harped so much on episode 4 on if she's safe. And I just think as much as in episode 6 it felt like they were getting back to that place, I think there's some underlying unresolved tension. And maybe with Adam out of the picture, it's not there. Um, Maybe it's by the hands of Muse, maybe it's by the hands of Kingpin, but I think Vanessa's not going to make it through to season 3, whatever that direction takes on. Um, Heather Glenn. I want to get this on record. It might be the stupidest thing I've ever said on this podcast. I think Heather Glenn might be Typhoid Mary. It might be. Um, I know you might
For
not.
us not, yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. So you got to
So
give us some more context.
this is Typhoid Mary on the cover of the omnibus with Daredevil. She has curly hair like Heather Glenn. She is not a therapist, but she is a. Her name's Mary, and she snaps into DID. like Moon Knight kind of,
Yeah, uh-huh.
where she has a different personality. Heather's studying different personalities and masks and vigilantes. I think they want to add wrinkles to Heather, and Heather's already in with or not already in, but she already has a relationship with Kingpin of some kind through therapy, right? And
Right.
maybe Heather is brought or set up to be with Matt by Kingpin. And maybe, right? Like this is
Oh,
just something, this is just a
okay.
bold prediction. If it hits, I look like a fucking genius. So I'm saying it, right?
Okay, sure.
And I think she might be Typhoid Mary. She might snap into her different personality, which is basically she's so hard to explain. I'd be amazed if they tried to do this because I think Typhoid Mary is such a cool character that they should never even try bringing to screen because she's so weird and zany and just I don't know if they could ever make her work in a show like this. But she was a one-time lover when she was first introduced, but she would be an enemy of Daredevil for sure in her other personality. Um, and she is very much brought to life by Kingpin in a lot of this, where he is keeping her other identity under wraps. He says like his Winter Soldier type words to Mary, and she becomes Typhoid Mary again. And I'm just curious to see. I don't want to explain her too much, but because I would never do it justice, even though like I still don't really understand Typhoid Mary. Besides, she's a villain that snaps into her other personality, and that's reading a bunch of Typhoid Mary. So I'm curious to see if Heather's maybe Typhoid Mary. So I think Vanessa's not going to make it through to season 2, and I think Typhoid Mary or Heather Glenn might be Typhoid Mary. Those are my just kind of bold predictions for maybe things they're setting up. Besides that, I just want to see some cool action sequences. That's my expectation for the next couple episodes.
Okay. Some
Yeah,
interesting predictions for sure. That yeah, I don't have any predictions. I just hope they can land the plane somewhat without completely
yeah.
destroying the fuselage here.
I
We'll see.
think uh, I think Muse is not a metahuman either, or an inhuman. In the
He's just a
comics,
guy, right?
he's an inhuman. I thought they were going to make him a mutant in this, not a metahuman. That's DC, a mutant
Okay.
in this. Um, so I thought they were trying to forget about Inhumans. Maybe they make him a mutant. The selfie scene in the comics, they take a selfie with Muse, and you see in the selfie that he has no body. It's just blood in his body. Like you see his veins. And Daredevil doesn't have a radar sense of Muse. And that's where I think the Muse scene could have been cooler, is that Daredevil in the comics can't tell where Muse is. So he could have been terrified in that layer too. But I get for Daredevil's first scene back, you want it to be triumphant, and
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
But Muse, yeah, it's cool because it challenges Daredevil's senses where Daredevil has to look in his senses for where there's absolutely nothing. Like no air, no movement, no motion. He has to find where there's nothing in the world, and he finds Muse. So it's a cool inverse of his senses. Looks like that's not happening. It looks like he's just a sick guy, a sick, twisted serial killing guy.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do like him. I like his character a
I
lot
like him
so
too.
far. I think he's really cool and creepy and sinister and just different, something completely different that we haven't gotten in any sort
Really
of
cool
Daredevil
wrinkle.
thing before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all I've got here. So, anything else before we wrap up here?
No, that's all I've got too. I just wanted to get that on record, my little
Okay,
predictions,
okay.
because maybe it happens. It probably will not. I think the Typhoid Mary thing is so far-fetched, but I
Well, you
think
never know.
there are weird little parallels to the character in the comics, and I'm like, that could be a really cool way to have the lover arc and set it up and give Heather Glenn some depth too. So why the hell not? We'll
Yeah.
see.
All right, Daredevil episodes 5 and 6. We'll be back next week for episode 7. We'll see what happens.
All right.